Welcome to the HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education. Today we'll explain how to create your educational formula step by step. Today we are going to explore how to plan a short online learning sequence for your class. And for this, we have 3 objectives. Propose a strategy of pedagogical action to convey an online learning sequence. Present a series of online tools to carry out the learning sequence, and recommend actions and dynamics connected to the center line of the learning sequence. Before I start, I want to clarify that educational recipes are guidelines that we are building so that teachers can adapt and apply them to their particular dynamics, activities, tasks, projects, etc. They are not formulas that must be followed explicitly, as there is adaptation because, as we know, each teacher has a particular way of teaching a class. These are some of the formulas we have in the HP Online Teaching Assistant program. I'm now going to go to one of them to explain what they are like, how they are planned, and so on. This one is called Be Cooperative, and as you can tell by the name, it focuses mainly on the use of dynamics and applications, which allows us to encourage cooperative learning. In this first section, we'll give a brief introduction about what the HP Online Teaching Assistant initiative is, so you can understand the why of these creations and these resources. And then just a short description of this guide. For all these educational recipes, you will have a short description which will help you to understand what it is about. In this page, you will see the objectives and competencies. I would like to pause and clarify something here. In these formulas, what you will find is not the curricular adaptation. Why haven't we included the curricular adaptation? The answer is, for this recipe or these guidelines, to reach as many teachers as possible. It is about more than just content, but rather a transversal manner of working and planning. Returning to this part of the objectives, this is the overall objective: to develop with the group activities or projects based on cooperative learning, where the methodological basis evolves around online virtual learning environments, VLEs, and their related tools. Then we have the specific learning objectives: to generate a group of students in teams, to organize meetings with your students using Teams, and so on. And finally, we find an estimate of the skills development students will achieve if they follow this guide. Here, we have the more formal section, so to speak, of the proposed recipe. Now I'll go on to the methodology page. Here, we want to propose some methods for this sequence. Keep in mind that you as teachers can remove, modify, or add what you like. For example, I see here e-learning and cooperative learning. Very well, but why not add a third, or change either of these two? In this case, what we want is to take the best of both and create a match, to have them coincide at the point of greatest learning for the students. So, how are we going to achieve that? We propose the following. Here, we start by scheduling some sessions. Working cooperatively, in this case, and as you know, is with the usual groups of 3 or 4 students, each with a specific role. Can we simulate that face-to-face part more? Can we do it online? Yes. The question I would ask you now is, are we interested in doing that? I would say that depends on the teacher, but we do know that for cooperative learning, there are certain skills, both soft and competencies, that aren't developed by working individually. So how can we foster those skills? For example, communication between students to complete a task, critical thinking, among others. For this, we propose a timing schedule of 5 working sessions. Very important, not all sessions have to be face-to-face. We can do 1 face-to-face session, and in the 2nd or 3rd session, the student works independently. Then, we have another synchronized virtual session to share, or it can be a mix. I'll comment briefly on what is planned here. First, for the teacher, create your virtual learning environment. And here we recommend Microsoft Teams. Then, with the students, we'll have 4 main sessions, which we can then expand to more sessions if we want. The 4 sections would be previous knowledge, it's our starting point before commencing a new unit. Then we have a content summary, which is a moment on our part for explaining the content. Here, you're going to see that, in this section, as teachers, it's not necessary to speak to them directly face-to-face or via video call. We can use some cool dynamic tools to communicate with them. Then, if the students or some of them need, we can answer their questions or expand the information. The next point would be students' work. We have to make sure that what we expect them to acquire in terms of both knowledge and competencies or skills, we do so in a way that in the end we can evaluate. That would be the last section, the evaluation. Now, let's look at each of these sessions. What can we develop with each of them? And what do we propose? Just to give you an idea, the first section, if you remember, is for the teacher. Create your virtual learning environment. We suggested using Microsoft Teams for the possibilities, both collaborative and cooperative, that the tool itself offers. One thing that Microsoft Teams offers, which we think is great, is the creation of channels for the various cooperative work groups. So students in each of the channels within the same team can communicate and work together. They can continue communicating with the other students of other channels. However, if you prefer another application which seems more appropriate or is more appropriate for you, that's just fine. If you want to explore this tool, you have this play button, a little tutorial to start using Teams. Now, previous knowledge. How do I find out about any previous knowledge my students have? You can use dynamic from there on, like a few questions, brainstorm, and so on. Here we propose two applications. One is Kahoot or quizzes. In Kahoot, I create a quiz and my students answer it, for example, a student at home. How can he be on Kahoot and at the same time be in Teams? Because some of the students have already asked the teachers to do Kahoot, but the students either see the Kahoot screen or answer the questions. A little trick for them is either divide the desktop in two or open it directly in another browser. Put the two windows together, one where the teacher is showing the Kahoot screen, where the questions are appearing, and in the other, the answer panel. And quizzes can be used for the same. It is a platform that allows you to create multiplayer quiz games. In this section, as you can see, we leave you a reference video of each tool so you can watch them. Now we go to Content Summary. We propose examples and applications. We could go to a PowerPoint, understanding that PowerPoint isn't only for viewing slides, but in this case, is a tool for creating videos for our classes. For those of you who don't know, PowerPoint allows you to either record your interaction with the slides or screen record. That is, everything you do within or outside of PowerPoint would be recorded. It also allows us to embed questions that can be answered during the presentation. In a nutshell, it lets us create dynamic content. Then there is Wakelet, which is a platform that lets us curate content, so to speak. It is an educational social network where both teachers and students can add content from different media sources, social networks, etc. Now the big question is, how can a student search for content on a social network which may be harmful or may not be appropriate? Wakelet has a search engine that uses tags to filter safe, reliable news that is purely educational content. And here again, as you can see, below each of the applications, there's a link with a video where you have an explanation or introduction of these tools. We move on to the fourth section, Students' Work. What we want is for students to have a workspace which allows them to start working on what we have proposed in terms of dynamic activity, challenge, problem, etc. That affords them certain freedom in the use of tools and options, and they can collaborate or cooperate with each other. In this case, we offer you two options. Onenote from Microsoft, which is actually a digital notebook with ample freedom to integrate a lot of resources, like simple annotation if you have a touchscreen device, or a tablet or cell phone that you can use your finger to chart. You may also incorporate as many pages as you need to, separated into sections, embed a video or an audio. Onenote has many very interesting features. Flipgrid is another very interesting platform for social learning, where students and teachers are recorded and correct or give feedback amongst themselves. These recorded videos are closed, private videos. They are only in the Flipgrid group domain we've created. This gives us greater and more security when it comes to minors. And finally, we have the evaluation, and we recommend Forms, which is another Microsoft tool that serves to create forms or quizzes. We recommend the following here, teachers. If we have used another tool before in terms of previous knowledge, use that same tool at the end. In other words, we can use Kahoot, quizzes, or forms in both cases. Forms is a tool where you can upload multimedia content in various types of questions, both multiple choice, numerical, long or short text, etc. This would be the formula for Be Cooperative. As I said at the beginning, you don't need to follow it explicitly. Use the same 4 sections on previous knowledge with the teacher explanation, student work, and evaluation. You can expand the sections as you wish with the applications you want. Now I'm going to jump to another educational recipe, Be Gamifier. In Be Gamifier, we have the same structure, description, objectives, and competencies to develop. And here we have the methodology, which in this case, there's an explanation about what gamification is, what processes it involves, including other things. Then you will see how it works and the timing schedule we propose. And here, as in the previous one, you will see the expansion of each of the sections we propose and the tools that could be used. For example, in this formula, for the previous knowledge section, we propose the same 2 options, Kahoot and quizzes. We already talked about these tools. For explanation of content, here, teachers, I would definitely put a little emphasis on these 2 applications because they are super useful. Symbaloo serves to create your own learning itineraries, to have on the first page of the browser those links which are very useful and of interest to us. Symbaloo includes the option for lesson plans, which means we can generate autonomous educational plans that are itineraries where we upload resources, indicating activities with steps that the students need to follow. Then there is Edpuzzle, a tool that allows us to edit videos, insert our own audios, text, and questions in the video, making it stop or continue, depending on whether the student responds correctly or not. And after concluding, we can do and receive a report of the performance results of each student. I encourage you to look at this application. At Students' Work, we suggest Archidemics, Classcraft, and Minecraft, all 3 highly recommended and are gamification related. And finally, for evaluation, we recommend Socrative and ClassDojo. In all the tools we propose, you can find a brief description of the tool and a link to a video. I'll take this opportunity to say that so many people think that ClassDojo is only for the little ones, but its scope is actually greater. For working with high school kids, ClassDojo is great, and it's a spectacular component of motivation. That's all for today. I hope you find this information useful. Thank you for watching this video, offered by HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education.